Dean's on.
Oh, we're live already. And gosh, every time I think I'm getting better, I start to cough again. I think I saw some people. Did I see some people already?
Dean is on.
Good morning, Dean. Anybody else on?
Nobody else has commented yet, but Dean does have a question.
Oh gosh, well, hold on then just a second. So first and foremost, we've not even begun yet. First and foremost, I'd like to say hello to my spirit guide Gregel, who is always standing to my right side. We just missed Kachoro. He just jumped off the sofa, but he's asleep in his favourite corner, and on the floor, as usual, big round of applause. Say good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, everyone.
So, let me see. What have I got to tell you today? We talked yesterday. Michelle has got a huge amount of tomatoes, and
I smell like onions and garlic right now.
She wanted to get a recipe for a marinara sauce or some kind of a spaghetti sauce, and she's calling her aunt to find a recipe in front of me.
No, actually, I called her before that. She called me back in front of you.
She said, I really need a recipe, and I said, hold on a second. I've got a recipe. I've got a good recipe, which of course is in the cookbook. So we were laughing about that, but I did give her a little tip, right, Michelle?
You did.
So I talked about the art of peeling tomatoes, because when you have making a spaghetti sauce, you do need tomato sauce. You do need to have some nice, good, ripe tomatoes. Plum tomatoes are probably the best. Anybody out there who wants to disagree with me, let me know, because if you know something I don't know, I'm always happy to learn. But anyway, so we were talking about skinning tomatoes, and here is a tip for everyone that Michelle didn't know, but did it save you lots of time, Michelle?
It did.
Because trying to peel a tomato, you can't do it. It's just impossible to do. You can get a little knife and try to pull it, but it sticks to the flesh and so on and so forth. Some of you out there are laughing and saying you already know how to do it, but here is the tip for anyone out there who is at home and doing nothing at all because you can't go to work and restaurants are closed and the offices are closing down and so on. If you want to make a delicious spaghetti sauce, you have to start with the fresh tomatoes. Here is your tip. So you get a sharp knife and you cut a ring all the way around the tomatoes. You slit the skin all the way around in the middle of the tomato, right? The tomato's here, the top's there, and you go all the way around like that. And then you stab the tomato on a fork, preferably where the core is, because that's the place that the fork will hold on to the best. You've got a pan of boiling water, and you plunge with your fork the tomatoes into the boiling water, and within seconds, right, Michelle, was it just...
Yeah, it wasn't...
Just so, like, maybe 5 seconds or 10 seconds or something, the skin starts to shrivel and comes away from the fleshy part of the tomato. You then lift it out, let them cool, and just take the skin off. And it's easy, right? Just pulls off easily. I think we should have cooking tips when I do my shows. A little cooking tip every time we do a show. So that's my cooking tip. Here's another one for you. So many people, especially because we're talking about tomato sauce, so many people top and tail the garlic. You know what top and tail is, don't you? Right, they take the bottom off where the root part is, and they then take the top off. Never take the top off your garlic, because this is where the flavour is. When you take the top off and you throw the top away, you've thrown away all the flavour. So only take the tail of the garlic off. All right, that's it.
Yeah, I never take the top off of garlic.
Or if you split garlic, if you slice garlic in the middle, you'll find it's. You didn't know you were coming to a cooking show today, now did you?
I think next week we should do cooking class.
Works for me. If you cut a piece of garlic, a thing of garlic in half, you'll see that this green piece of green runs all the way through the center. That is where your flavor is in the garlic. That's where the strongest flavor is. So don't chop it off the top, please. Otherwise you don't get such good flavor. All right, that's the cooking tips over. What do you mean, do a cooking show?
I think we should do a cooking show next week. You'll have your apprentice, because she's out of school for like the next month.
My apprentice in my kitchen is Gwendolyn. Although she's actually only made a couple of things with me, right? She's just made a couple of things with me. And the last time she made something with me, we made eggplant parmesan because she was wanting something that was vegetarian based. Then they took it all home and ate it. It was a massive big thing anyway.
No, we made
it was
moussaka.
It was moussaka.
Moussaka, that's what it was.
It was a moussaka, which is a Greek dish with eggplants, and I showed her how to brine her eggplants. Would any of you like to know how to brine your eggplants? Would any of you like to join me in my kitchen and have a cooking class with me? Because I'm happy to invite anyone into my kitchen. So I want comments and questions on that, and how do we get there, and what do we do, and so on and so forth. Come on, you can figure it out. In the meantime, this show is about the spirit world, and the spirit world sees all. Does it really? Is it really see all? I believe so. So much so, and some of you will have heard me say this before, but it is honestly true. And I've written it in my books, and I've said it before, and people think I'm kidding, but it is honestly true, that as soon as I realized just exactly how much the spirit world could see, and how much they do see us, and how much they do visit us, and how often they visit us, I really did start using bubble bath in my bath water. Now, the truth of the matter is it didn't make any difference. And the truth of the matter also is that probably no one in the spirit world was at all interested in watching me have a bath. And so, and it's the same with showers, but that is precisely how much they can see and how clearly they can see us. Although I don't suspect there are too many peeping toms in the spirit world, and if there are, take a good look, because this is all me, all beautiful me. So there you have it. All right, this is
that took an interesting turn real quick, didn't it?
This is a really weird show this morning. What is wrong with me? I know you think that I'm sort of gone off the grid a bit, but
I think everybody's stir crazy.
I'm not stir crazy. I am, however, I decided yesterday I'm going to be making some shortbread cookies, and I'm going to be making some ginger fairlings. So I'm going to be, I went through my spices the other day and noticed I've got quite a bit of nice ground ginger, so I'm going to be making really nice gingery biscuits, which are rather like, for those of you in England, you'll know the best crunchy ginger nuts that we have in England. You can make them just the same, or if not better, with my recipe. Here we go again. In the cookbook.
I'm telling you, we should cook.
I think we should cook. So anyway, so if we could find a time, maybe next week.
Tuesday. We don't have anything going on Tuesday.
If we find a time, then maybe on Tuesday, watch Facebook. If you are on my mailing list, will notify you. I'd love for all of you who are interested, because I know most of you are not interested in cooking, but seeing as you've got nothing else to do and you're twiddling your thumbs, maybe let us know what it is that you'd like help with in cooking, and we'll see if I can give you some little tips and show you how to do stuff. We could even show you how to peel tomatoes. Right, that's the end of that. Now, no more food, no more talk of food from me, but hey, you guys can ask as much as you like, or comment as much as you like. I think I think I've gone crazy for about 5 minutes there. All right. Talking of, you see, here's the thing though. People think that mediums are, that we're not normal. It's so true.
It depends on what your definition
we
of
really
normal
not
is.
normal. We are not normal. But then as I've always said to my daughter, who wants to be normal, I would much prefer to be considered a little crazy, because I think all the nicest people in the world are a little bit crazy, and certainly I'm not a normal person. I didn't grow up as a normal child, and I'm not a normal adult, and I love every minute of it. But this is me being slightly more not normal than usual. It's like, all right, Michelle, take over. Quick.
Okay, Dean is on.
Darling.
And Dean said, I said, good morning, everyone. He says, hi, all. Nothing happening here yet. LOL. And then he said that he freezes his tomatoes and then dumps them into a sink of water and the skin comes right off.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. Good. Well done. Yeah.
But here's his question. Are you ready? It's a big one.
Bated breath.
It says, do spirit guides get together once in a while and discuss the issues?
Well, I think they do. I think that many people in the spirit world get together and talk about things and discuss issues and try to help and guide wherever they possibly can. Certainly, Gregor, yesterday we talked quite a lot yesterday afternoon about the coronavirus and what is going on in the world, and certainly I talked about the most important thing I think we should realize, and the worst kind of contagion is the contagion that happens when we are fearful, and fear is contagious, and fear creates panic, fear creates all sorts of issues, and often it makes us act excuse me, it makes us act in ways that are a little bit crazy and a little bit silly. It sort of drives us to the edge. And Gregor has taught me over the years, over many times when I've been fearful of things, or the world has been fearful of things, that the only way that we can deal with fear is to face it head on and to say, go away, boo, literally boo, go away. Whatever it is that you are afraid of, fear freezes us. It often freezes us into inaction, and it often freezes us to the point where when we do act, we don't act sensibly, we don't act with common sense, we act out of panic. We allow that panic and that anxiety to drive us to doing and behaving in ways that we know are wrong and we know are ridiculous, but we still allow it to happen. So please do be careful when we're talking about the coronavirus. Of course we have to pay attention, of course it's a serious situation, and of course we really do have to take all of those necessary precautions, washing hands and so on and so forth, and avoiding crowds if you can. Excuse me. But the biggest concern that I have is that fear is what is driving us, and fear is contagious. So when you're talking to your friends, to your family, to your children, to your grandchildren, try to let them see that the fear is really baseless, that it doesn't help them. To be afraid of something doesn't help them. And try to see if you can set an example by being as calm and as reasoned as you possibly can. All right, let's let's go to our next question.
Good morning. That's from Funky Monkey.
Good morning, Funky Monkey.
Twiggy says good morning.
Good morning.
Twiggy also says, was wondering what the most unexpected or funny interaction you've had with someone in the spirit world is.
One of the most that stands out for me, that probably excuse me, one of the most unexpected experience I had from people in the spirit world is when I had my earth angel not my earth angel, but I have a wonderful lady. She's been on the show. She came over here. She's been on the show. She was on the show with a friend, and her son has a very debilitating disease, and he is in a wheelchair and completely and utterly now paralyzed. He can't talk. He can't move. I think he can move one finger, and I was on the phone with her, all set to have a consultation with her, when there was this amazing bright light. At first I thought it was the sun, because I have these big windows at the back of the house, and the sun comes pouring through there. And at first I thought, geez, the sun is bright. But at that point it became so bright in the room I had to close my eyes for a moment, and when I opened them, there was this beautiful boy, not dead, an earth angel, able to travel, able to leave his body and to participate and to talk for the first time in a long time, and to talk to his mother and to tell his mother the things he liked, the things that he didn't like, the things that, the foods he didn't like. And he was able to tell her that he really did need more chocolate. Anyway, that was one of the most surprising. And another surprising experience was, oh gosh, many years ago, when I first, even before I began our healing centers, I worked with a man who lives in England. His name is Mick Maguire, and he was a very fine healer. And he came to my house one time, and a little boy, parents brought their little boy who was very sick for him to give healing, and he was standing with the boy and the parents, and they were giving healing, and I was sitting on the sofa watching, but also sending my energy as much as I could and sending healing to the boy. And something, as I'm sort of focusing on the boy who was in front of me, something caught the corner of my eye, and I turned, and which I still have, an antique rocking chair, and standing by the rocking chair, and I know that some of you will think that this is really weird and crazy, and believe you me, I thought it was weird and crazy as well. It absolutely took my breath away. I saw, standing by the rocking chair, looking at me and smiling at me, I saw Christ standing in my living room. Now, you may find that crazy, but since I was a very, very small child, since I was 2 or 3 years old, my mother sent us all to the Church of Christ, and I became acquainted with Christ when I was very tiny, and would talk to Christ all the time, actually, and he became my friend and my church, my family. So it shouldn't have been surprising to see him there, but it was sort of a moment when I was least expecting it, and I looked. He was standing there, robed and just smiling, and I was so taken aback, and I remember putting my head down. I was so overwhelmed by what was happening, and I put my head up again, and he was gone. It was just a momentary thing. So pretty neat experiences, both of them. Then there are lots of others, and the man who had died, his wife had multiple sclerosis, and she came to me for a consultation to connect with her husband, who really loved looking down my blouse and really liked making naughty comments. He was sort of teasing, and as soon as I told her what he was doing, she said, that's him, that's exactly him, because he used to do that all the time. How wonderful for her. If it were my husband, I'd have clocked him on the nose. But anyway, so we have all sorts of incredible experiences. Let's have a next question or comment, shall we?
Sally is on. She says, good morning, Rosemary.
Good morning, Sally.
She says, I love to cook. Terry's on. She says, good morning.
Good morning.
Sally asks, when higher numbers of people die at once, does it create a surge in the spirit world?
Um, well, when you say a surge, I suppose in a way that it does. If people are dying collectively, you do realise though, don't you, that this coronavirus, by comparison to other things, not that I'm not making light of it. Please don't misunderstand me, but in a world where there are just under 7 billion people, um, in the world, I think the total is 5,000 or 6,000 people who have actually died uh, with related coronavirus, and more than 25% of those people are over 80. So let's put this in perspective, can we? But yes, here's the thing though, that you cannot go before your time, and so whether it's you know, the all of those who died in the ovens at Auschwitz, all of those who died with the tsunami, all of those who die on a fairly sort of unfortunately regular basis from, you know, volcano spills or earthquakes or tornadoes, and on it goes. Um, all of those people, whether they die collectively, people in plane crashes who die collectively, their loved ones in the spirit world know way ahead of time that they are coming, and so preparations are way in hand. What we consider sudden death or suddenly dying in the spirit world, it's an expected event, and please understand, and a joyful event. Those of us who are left behind, we're the ones in pain, we're the ones who are suffering. But our loved ones who pass into the spirit world, and all of those in the spirit world who are waiting for them and to be reunited with them, it's one big party. It's a joyful thing. Of course they are sympathetic for us in our pain, but it is only us who are left behind who are the ones who are suffering. So, you know, please allow that to comfort you a little bit, as it comforts me. Let's have a Michelle.
Mary Lou is on.
Oh,
and she
good
says,
morning, Mary Lou.
"Good morning, and thank you for all you do." Dean said that he thinks Claudia is in one of the last books that you've done.
Claudia.
Yes.
Yes, and her son. That is the mother of our beautiful Earth Angel. Yes, and the story, I do believe it's in A Walk in the Clouds.
I think you're correct.
I think it's in A Walk in the Clouds. And if you want to know where to get my books from, just email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, if you want to be put on our mailing list. This is an opportune time to tell you. You have to request it, because we will not automatically put you on our mailing list. So please ask us, and then we will put you on the mailing list. And our emails go out, I think it's maybe 5 a month or something. So
yeah, it's not often.
So you know, we don't bombard you every day or several times a day with emails as some people do. Right.
Sally said thank you. You answered her question completely.
I did.
With
What
the heart.
What was the question?
That was the last one about the surge in the spirit world.
Oh, right. Oh, good. Oh, good, Sally. It was actually a really good question. Next. Keep coming, nobody's asking questions. You do know what happens, don't you? When you stop participating, so do I. So get a move on, everybody. You know, come on. I know that we've talked far too much about cooking, but if you force me to, I'll talk more about it, and that would be terrible, would it not? I know that Dean is after a story, because I know that Dean loves my stories. So let me think. Let me think about this. Oh, so I'll tell you a story which has nothing to do with the spirit world, and it has everything to do with being a grandmother. So my grandson, 7 years old, I called him the other day, and I, I said, "Hello, darling." He said, "Goodbye." I said, "Goodbye." He said, "Yes, we're having opposites day today." So we have been having so much fun with opposites. So every time we say goodbye, he'll say, "I'm not going to press the button. I'm not going to press the button. Hello, hello, I'm not going to press the button," which means it's goodbye and he is going to press the button. Um, what else? The only thing we don't do, which is opposites, is we agreed between us that we're not doing the love bit. So we're not saying I don't love you. That's not the opposite. We don't do that with anything to do with love. We just say I love you, and so on and so forth. But you should try opposites day with your kids because it's really, really funny. I don't like ice cream, he says, and I no, I don't like ice cream either. Did you have any today? No, he says, which really means yes, and it's funny. So try that.
I used to do that with my kids when they were little.
Oh, you did? So I've never heard of it before, but opposites day. So we have opposites day. It's driving my daughter crazy. So she leaves us to talk on the phone by ourselves. Excuse me. All right. I've still got this wretched cough and cold. It just will not go away. Echinacea is my next stage. Right.
So Sally actually has another question.
Go for it, Sally, because nobody else is interacting at the moment. But boy, come on, everybody.
She writes, "I wonder what you expect for us as a nation financially over the next few weeks. So many people I know are without work and struggling for money."
Sally, it really is a huge problem, and this is what I expect, and you don't have to be psychic, do you, to know these things. There are so many people who are affected by this. There are so many people who are going to be really struggling to pay their bills. I had an email from my mortgage company to say that they understand and help with mortgages and all the rest of it. In other words, if you can't pay your mortgage, they'll sort of let you give some leeway. I think everybody knows banks, mortgage companies. What else? I mean, everybody is sending out information as to how you can handle it. If you are a person out there who is struggling financially and you're nervous about paying your bills, you need to contact your I don't know who you contact, your health provider. You need to contact
the people who hold the bills too.
Social Security, contact the electricity company, contact and all of those people. Years and years ago, I will tell you this story. Years and many years ago, my husband ran off. I actually told him to leave, so it didn't actually. He didn't actually desert me in that way. But what he did do was, because I told him I'd been to see a lawyer and he knew the writing was on the wall, and that I'd basically decided that I didn't want this marriage any longer for a variety of reasons. But anyway, and so he knew the writing was on the wall, and then a young bride moved in next door to us, and to cut a long story very short, he actually ran off with her. They planned it for a few weeks. Her poor husband, who was in the Air Force, who was away at the time, came back to find his new bride gone with every stick of furniture, and I think she left a cup and a teaspoon in the sink, and that was it. That's all she left. She took everything else, even the light bulbs in the house she took. Nice person. But anyway, that was that. But what he did was far worse. First of all, he went to the bank. He borrowed money, forged my signature, and this was over a period of a few months, and then told the young assistant bank manager that if I came in to talk to him, I would spin him a story about how my husband ran off with the next door neighbour and not to believe me and that I was a liar and so on and so forth. And so I had to go into the bank and tell this young assistant manager, who literally did call me a liar. Your husband said you would come in and he said you would say this, and I don't believe a word of what you're saying is what he said. And I can remember walking out of that bank absolutely devastated. I tried to do the best I could do and it didn't work. So from then on, I ignored the bills, and to the point where the bank wrote and said, we're taking your house from you, at which point I had to go back to the bank, but this time I made sure I saw the bank manager. And he was livid with me, understandably so, because it was months and I hadn't been able to pay the mortgage and so on. He was furious with me. And he said to me, if only you had come in and talked to us, we would have helped you. And I said, but I did. And he said, no, you didn't. So here I'm being called a liar again. And I said, but I did. I saw your assistant bank manager. He told me that my husband had come in to see him. He said not to believe a word I said. And I came out of your bank with my tail between my legs, being thoroughly chastised for no reason whatsoever. The bank manager went to investigate, came back with said assistant bank manager, who apologized to me. I refused to take his apology. And the bank manager then actually did everything he could to help me, and he couldn't apologize more. Here is the message. He said to me, if you had come and talked to me, we could have helped. So what I should have done initially, when the young man said, I don't believe a word you said, and your husband said you'd come and say this to me, what I should have done was said then and there, I want to see the manager. But I was so devastated by everything, and so devastated by what was going on, and so devastated by the fact that I could barely afford to feed my daughter, and I would sit drooling over her 2 fish fingers and mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are very filling, by the way, if you're thinking about, something that's cheap and easy that fills your kids' tummies, think outside the box a little bit. But I would, so I couldn't afford, really literally could not afford to feed myself. So I would eat my daughter's leftovers, hoping that there would be some. And somehow or another we got through it. But also what I did was I wrote to every company. I wrote to the electricity board. I wrote to the water board. I wrote to anybody and everybody who we owed money to. And I explained what had happened. And I said, could you please hold off on this, and can we revisit it in 12 months' time? And there was only one company, which was the electricity board, and that's a whole other story. I might tell you another time. But there was only that one company who wasn't sympathetic. So please, 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 instead of sitting and worrying and fretting, get your pen and paper out, write your letters, go to see your social services people, explain to them what is happening. Again, as I said yesterday, if all else fails, go to the Salvation Army. I promise you, they will help you the best they can. They can direct you to where it is that you need to go to. Go to your local church, go to your ministers. The thing is, now look, I've been in that position with a 10-year-old little girl. Well, actually she was 8 years old at the time, but 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've been in that position where I couldn't afford to pay the bills. I could barely afford to feed her. And I'm not joking when I say that. Please understand, I am not joking. Our stable food was potatoes. And it's amazing how many different ways you can cook a potato. One day we'll talk about that. We're back to cooking again. But I have been in that situation. Please understand that I know I have been in your shoes. If you're a person who is frightened because you're afraid that you're going to be evicted from your home, or that you can't pay your bills, and there are people out there living in in cars. Go find someone who can help you. Beat on any door you can. Go to a neighbor. The thing that holds us back, I know this, and it certainly held me back, was pride. I didn't want anyone to know that I couldn't manage. I didn't want anyone to know that I had no money. I didn't want anyone to know that I was hungry. My pride got in the way. So please, everybody, put your pride aside. There are so many people out there who work the system and they know how to do it, and they should be ashamed of themselves. They are a disgrace to humankind. They are a disgrace to their neighbors, and in fact everyone who walks on this planet. Those people who claim that they can't afford, who just simply don't want to work, and they work the system. But this is a whole different thing. You are not a person working the system. You are in need. Please, please, please put your pride to one side and just go knock on the door of your local church, or knock on the door of social services, or just anything you can do. Write to your neighbours. If you can't tell them face to face, write to them. Can you help me? My kids are hungry. There isn't a neighbour on your street anywhere at all who would refuse to give you, some bread or give you a meal from time to time. And if all the neighbours collectively help each other, it's amazing what we can do. So please, 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 all of you out there, it's going to get worse. The financial situation is going to get worse. Of course it is. Again, it's this fear, this contagion of fear that's driving people to panic mode. Don't panic. Step back, take a breath, and ask. Now is not the time for pride. It honestly really isn't. I've been there. I've done that. I've been prideful. I'm still too proud if I'm sick or if I need something. It's really hard for me. Michelle is nodding furiously. It is really hard for me to ask for help anytime, because my pride, I've always been a strong person. I've always been able to manage. When am I too proud to ask you for help, young lady?
When you're not feeling well and you shouldn't be going to the grocery store.
This is true.
Or when you need to go to the doctor and you don't want to go to the doctor.
This is so true.
Or
you see. But you know what they say, pride comes before a fall, and it truly does. So please, this is the pot calling the kettle. Sorry, I am a prideful person. Pride can be my downfall. So when I am saying to you, put your pride aside, believe me, I know how hard it is, believe me. But honestly, go seek help. We should have some sort of collective neighborhood grouping. You don't even have to get together. You can do it online. You can do it like this. There's Skype. There's FaceTime. You can do it Facebook.
We have it through our group.
Try and get together with your neighbors, with your friends, and collectively, have a meeting every other day or something. And just check in on everybody. How are you doing? Do you need anything? And so on and so forth. And so, and help each other, because these are the times when we combine together, when we join together, because financially there are so many people who are struggling. Please don't be one of those people who turns a blind eye to your neighbors. Go check on them. Please, please, please go check on them. That's
what we do.
Next question. Michelle's already doing it. So if you want to know more about how to do it, email Michelle.
We do it with our kids too, because we have a lot going on, and a lot of people that I'm friends with are in healthcare. So they don't get the option to take time off of work.
Right.
So we work together, and we're creating school days that kids are at my house one day, kids are at their house one day.
Yeah, so there are ways and means, and All right, let's go to comments and questions, everybody.
Leah's on. She says, hello, everyone.
Good morning, Leah.
Dear Rosemary, what happens to Great Eagle when you go to the other side?
sorry, but all this talk of coronavirus, all this talk of me being sick and not going to the doctor, you're not trying to tell me something, Leah, are you? It's like, what do you mean? What happens to Grey Eagle? he is my friend. He is my mentor. Geez, we will still be working together, hopefully. If there is even the slightest suspicion that he's going to leave me, I'm going to hold on to him really, really tight. He's laughing as I'm saying this. I'll tell you what he says for all of you. He says, he's looking at me very fondly, but he's laughing, and he says, we are partners, partners in crime, and partners in crime stick together. So that's what's going to happen. It's so funny. You're not worried about what's going to happen to me. You're worried about what's going to happen to him. Oh, interesting. Good question, though, Leah. Are you obviously thinking outside the box? I like the question. It's made me laugh. Right. Next question or comment.
Terry's on.
Who?
Terry.
Terry. Good morning.
She's my basil and lavender I planted for her son.
Oh, we know you really well. We hope that you're
do.
cooking with that. We say basil in England, you know. The Americans say basil. We say basil. It's like you say tomato and I say tomato or something like that.
Basil, and I think of
basil.
A Disney movie. It's Great Mouse Detective.
Oh, okay then. All right then. All right, go.
Anyway, she wants to know what you think about the predictions of this virus.
Whose predictions of the virus?
Yours.
Pardon?
What do you think about the predictions of the virus is the question.
Oh, I think that, it's probably going to get a bit worse before it gets better, but I think it's going to get better. I think we're going to be able to learn to handle it. We heard this morning, and in fact, the World Health Organization, just for anybody out there who doesn't know, because I didn't know, Michelle didn't know until her cousin who's a doctor called her and said, don't take ibuprofen, because there are lots of theories, and we're not saying that it's true, but it was on Fox News that the World Health Organization is saying if you can, to avoid ibuprofen, instead they suggest paracetamol, was it?
Yes.
Paracetamol or anything other than ibuprofen, because there is some suspicion that it doesn't cause the virus, but it certainly seems to exacerbate, which means to make it worse for those of you who are not English speaking, so to make it worse. So try and avoid it if you can. Next, and if you want to know more, don't call me and ask me, because I'm not the expert, but Michelle checked it out this morning, and it's on the world news. The World Health Organization is actually putting it out there, right, Michelle? Yeah. All right, next question or comment, please.
Okay, so Vicky is on.
Morning, Vicky.
And she would like to know, will our loved ones in the spirit world be around us more during this hardship that we are all facing?
Well, it's absolutely true that our loved ones in the spirit world do come closer to us in any situation where we're struggling, not just this situation that we're in now. It's when you say this hardship, I totally know that it is a hardship for a lot of people. But again, we're looking at this from a fear-based situation. Can we not so much look at it as a hardship, but as an opportunity for us to all get together and to be as one nation, one mind, to combat what is happening in the world? I know many people think the hardship is going without toilet paper or paper towel, and if you want to know what I think about that, check in with my show that we did yesterday, which is our Hands Around the World Healing Show, because I'm not going to repeat it here.
It's on Facebook right now because we're having a hard time getting it uploaded.
Okay, so it's still on Facebook. We can't get it uploaded for some reason or another. I do know that, I think, how many million was it? Or 45,000 people in this last year died of influenza. And
in the US.
In the US alone, 45,000 people. So far, the count for the coronavirus worldwide, 7 billion, just under 7 billion people, is 5 or 6,000. Can we please put it into perspective? But I do understand what you're saying, my darling. And our loved ones in the spirit world, whatever our hardships, whether it's the financial situation, which does seem to be a big issue with so many people, our loved ones in the spirit world do come closer to us when we need their help, absolutely. And if we listen very carefully, I'm sure that they will help and guide you. But as I've said, for all of you, if you are, not just with this coronavirus situation, there are so many other things that are going on in the world which are so much worse. Please, let's have a reality check. And call your friends, call your neighbours, go to your local church, write your letters. Whatever your situation is, please put your pride aside and ask for help. Because as soon as you start asking for help, help will be given to you. Sometimes in order to get help, we have to help ourselves. It's a bit like the story of the man who was in the rowing boat and he was sinking, and he totally trusted in God, and he called on God, and he said to God, please, can you, I need your help. And a large fishing boat came by, and they saw that he was in distress, and he said, no, it's okay, no, I'm waiting for God. He asked God for help, and the fishing boat went by, and then a large trawler came by, and the people on the trawler said, let's throw you a lifeboat, life raft, we'll help you. And no, I'm fine. And then a huge liner went by, and the same thing happened. No, I'm fine, I'm waiting for God. Well, eventually he drowned. The man in the fishing boat drowned, and he got to the pearly gates, and he sort of, St. Peter met him, and he so disappointed. He said, I put my faith in God. I asked him to help me, and here I am. And Peter said to him, but we sent you a fishing boat, we sent you a trawler, we sent you a large whatever, we sent you a liner. What more could we do? Sometimes the moral of this story is sometimes we do have to look beyond our noses. And sometimes the help that we are asking for can be a little bit elusive. We have to look for it. We have to search for it. Sometimes in order to find that help, we have to step up and help ourselves. So you can't just sit on your bottom and just think that other people are going to come to you. You have got to reach out. And, and if you can reach out, and this is what your loved ones in the spirit world are often urging you to do, you need to reach out to people who can help you. And if you reach out, or you're prepared to reach out, they will help you to find those places to go and those people who can help you as you reach out. So please, again, pride comes before a fall. I know I am the worst person in the world to preach this to you, but please, it does work. It does work. And another day I will tell you a story of where I had to swallow my pride so badly, and it was so hard for me, and it backfired on me so badly, but in the end I did get the help I needed because I swallowed my pride. It really hurt, but that's a story for another day. Questions, comments, anything else do we have here?
We have lots. Sunshine would like to know, can folks from heaven influence a person on earth?
If we allow them to do it, yes. Yes, they can.
You ready for the next one?
Yeah, go. Sorry. Yeah.
Janice is on. She says,
Morning, Janice.
I'm late signing in, but good morning, and I love your
Good
sessions.
morning. Thank you. Well, we love having you too.
I am says, good advice. Dignity is important, not pity.
Yes. Oh, yes, I do like that. Yes.
Lori is on. She said that they have a community group online for sharing
Oh,
for what others
good.
cannot find.
Good. I think we definitely need community and help and friendship in these days. And the upside of all of this is it is bringing us all close together, isn't it? So, all right.
I am said that she had to accept $200 yesterday from her son for groceries. That she's lucky that she has two wonderful grown kids and that she's very proud of them.
You are very, very lucky in that, and I'm sorry you're in that position, but at the same time, how lucky are you? Because as we draw closer to those, sometimes also remember help comes in ways that we least expect it, and a friend of mine once helped me in my time of need, unexpectedly. And she was a person who was not liked by most people. And nobody, including my daughter, could understand how I would defend her and say, for all of her faults, she is a good person at heart. And that's where we have to look. So sometimes help comes from unexpected places, which can help us, to put faith in human nature. Yes, Michelle.
Lori said that it's always been a great place for helping each other out anytime. Where she lives. Roxanne is on, and she says, good morning. Rosemary, you are always a breath of fresh air. Aww.
Thank you, darling.
Janice has a question.
Go ahead.
Says, Rosemary, can you tell me why my mother doesn't come to visit me in my dreams very much anymore? She passed over in 2011 and used to come see me all the time. I'm 68 years old and I enjoyed her visits.
Well, there might be a couple of reasons here. It could be that you don't need her as much anymore. Maybe she's busy doing her thing and she feels that you don't need to see her as often. Remember, she's not, just there twiddling her thumbs with nothing to do. So she's probably off and having a really thoroughly exciting time. I know that when you do need her, she will be there for you, obviously, because you have seen her and you do have a connection with her. It also could be that you actually, on some subconscious level, are able to cope better, able to manage more, and that perhaps you don't need those visits so regularly. So perhaps you are less likely to be open. I don't think it's that though, because I think you are open to it, and I do believe that she will come to you when you need her. So but how nice for you that you've had that experience. Yep. Next question.
Lori said it seems like we have a crisis every 20 years in order to show people what's truly important. I don't think it's every 20 years. I think it may be every 5 to 10. That's how I feel right now.
Well, nature's a funny thing. It has its own way of clearing out the population, and every so often we have the world wars, we have the disasters, we have all of these things that sort of, are a bit of a cleansing on the population. Not that we like it or we want it to be that way, but nature does seem to have a way of maintaining the status quo. I don't know how anybody's going to take that comment, but
I don't know.
I always think that you can't die before your time. It's not possible, and your time is determined from prior to your birth. Your birth is determined. My grandson was born on Tuesday, the 12th, at 2 minutes between 10 minutes and 5 minutes to 11 a.m. the exact minutes and seconds were predicted. Uh, even as my daughter, they were getting ready to rush my daughter down for surgery. I had told her prior to this, and she's saying to me, "But I'm not ready. I'm not ready." And then so she then asked me what time he was going to be born, and she was so mad and she was so sick, and she said, "Fine." I told her, and she said, "Fine, fine." AM or PM, I remember her saying, AM or PM, and I said AM, and at that moment the doors flew open and in they came and they hauled her off to the emergency. So the time of our birth is determined for us prior to our birth. The time of our death is also determined for us. So if you are meant to die, rather pass into the spirit world, there's nothing you can do about it. It's preordained. And whether it's sort of naturally in your bed, in your sleep at night, or through a volcano erupting, or through a war, or whatever it is, we can fight this. We can argue about it. I don't like it any more than any of you do. But when God calls us, that's it. We have to go. We have no choice. I don't know where that came from. Next.
I was just letting you go with it.
Good.
Terry has a comment,
Yes.
and I actually like her comment quite a bit.
Okay.
It says, I think we should all realize that anything can change on a split second. Put love out there and be kind to one another.
I love that, Terry. Thank you. That's what we try to do, and that's what we try to promote here, and that's what we're saying to people when we're saying, put your pride aside, talk to your neighbours. You'll be surprised how many people that you perhaps never even talked to will suddenly be there for you. And try not to get too worried or concerned. What disasters do, the really great thing about disasters, we can't prevent the disasters, but what it does is it brings us all together, and it shows us that help and kindness come from the most unexpected places, and can really surprise us, and it does create tremendous faith in our human nature. So I think we have to focus on that. Anything else before it's almost time? Anything
yeah, we
else?
still have 3 or 4 comments.
Go for it. Go for it.
I would like to know if her Colorado call center will shut down before we all get infected. It's 200 plus employees in one room, and South Korea just had 102 positives last week in a call center.
That's South Korea. It's a whole different country. Please try not to panic. Please try not to let fear drive your thinking. In South Korea, I don't know if you've ever been to South Korea, but cleanliness is not the greatest thing that they have there. This whole thing was created in China. So in the eastern part of the world, of course, they're having so much more of a rough time than the rest of us. But look, if we started to say, the common cold, the flu, the this, that, and the other, so many things to worry about. I am sure that if you all get together in your call center and you talk to your administrators and let them know, get everyone together, communicate with each other, and voice your concerns as a group, as a whole, and listen to common sense. I don't think anyone is going to deliberately put anybody in harm's way, certainly not in this country. But try not to panic, my darling. You'll be fine. I really feel in my bones, in my heart, in my soul that you're going to be fine. I really do. Next.
Janice said, thank you, Rosemary, and God bless you.
You're very welcome. I'm not quite sure what you're thanking me for, but you're very, very welcome. Yeah, next.
Okay, so this is our last one of the day, and it's from Sally. She says, why have I always felt so disconnected from this world? I can't talk. I feel like everyone else gets it and I don't.
Well, Sally, you're here, so you must get it. You know, we started this show off by saying, you know, that uh, I'm probably not the most normal person. I've never been normal. Or, you know, we all of us have our quirks. Some of us are born with a knowing. Some of us are born sort of just, you know, being in the world but not being a part of the world. And you're not the only one who feels that way, my darling. There are lots of people who feel the way you are, but you know, what is there to get? You don't have to, you know, go with the flow. You don't have to think like everybody else thinks. I know that there are people out there who think right at this moment that I'm making less of this situation than I should be doing. I'm truthfully saying to all of you out there, you know, um, I'm not making less of the problem. I am trying to help people to understand that it is really honestly not the end of the world. And Sally, I think you get that. It's not, this is not the end of the world. It's you know, thank goodness it is. Let's put things into perspective and let's do all we can to stay away from that that contagion, the worst contagion, which is fear. We are all getting, you know, sort of so hyped up and panicked because we're fearful of what will happen. And instead of, you know, I always do an exercise with my students at some point or another. If this were your last day, because we never know, do we, any of us? We could get run down, there could be an earthquake, you know, who knows? Uh, None of us know how much time we have on this earth. If this were your last day, sit back, think about it, don't panic about it, but if this were your last day on this earth, what what would you do? Take that stance. If this is my last moment with my kids, how do I want to spend it? Do I want to spend it crying and weeping and wailing that I'm going to die, or do I want to spend it joyfully, thanking God that I had these children in the first place and that they have brought me so much joy? Which way do you want to go? What attitude do you want to have at the end of the day? Al and I are going to be talking about that later on today. If this were your last day on this earth, what would you do? It's a bit like, you know, when people have their homes go up in flames. What is it that you miss the most if everything is burned in your house? What are the most important things to you when you know, when this happens to you? I can tell you that one of the most important things to me, that if my house were to go up in flames, one of the most important things to me would be this little tiny packet. It's just a little teeny packet. When my daughter was about 3 or 4 years old, she had a habit of wanting to wrap things up. So I would give her wrapping paper. And one day she came to me and she said, "This is for you, Mummy." And she had actually wrapped up in little green paper. You can just barely see it's green, but green paper. She'd wrapped up and sellotaped a jelly baby. What do you call them?
Jelly beans?
No, gummy bears or something.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Gummy bear thing. Anyway, yeah. So saying that sort of thing, and she'd wrapped it up for me as a gift, and I put it in a safe place, and over 40 years later, I still have that, and it's in a plastic bag. You can't see that it's a jelly baby anymore. It's all squished up and everything, and all the sugar's leaked out a bit, and nobody would know what it is, but it's one of my most valuable possessions. Believe it or not, it's more valuable to me than so many things that are actually, that I do have of value. I carry it in my purse all the time, and I can remember one time getting on a plane, and I'd been to a shopping mall. I'd left my bag behind, and I have to tell you, there was jewellery in the bag, there was a lot of money in the bag, and you know, if I got the bag back, I did, and if I didn't, I didn't. I mean, there's nothing I could do about it. And I remember sitting on the plane, and I was just about to eat, and all of a sudden I remembered, yes, there was the money, yes, there was the jewelry, yes, there were my credit cards, yes, there were all my, social security card, all that sort of thing. All of those things in there, and I'm just about to take my first bite of food when I remember that my jelly baby is in there, and that's when the lump came in my throat and I started to cry, because that to me was more valuable than anything else. So please, can you just, if this were your last day, if it were truly, if you're going to die, you get the coronavirus, you're going to die, whatever, if this is your last day on this earth, can you sort of just do this exercise? What would be the most important things for you? How many arguments with your family or your friends would you like to set straight? How many people have you not spoken to in forever? So make the phone calls, write the cards, think about the things that are important to you, gather them to you, gather people to you, gather your loved ones to you. If this were your last day on earth, are you going to spend it being frightened, or are you going to spend it being constructive? It's an exercise I give to my students. One of my students, I adore her absolutely, said to me, this is a few years ago, so I gave them the exercise to do. She said, I went home and the very first thing I did, thinking, if I die in the night, or if this is my last day, what would be important to me? She went home and literally cleared out her underwear drawer and threw away all the stuff that she didn't want people to see, and she straightened it all up, because that to her was a really important thing. She didn't want people to go into her underwear drawer and think that she was I don't know what. But anyway, one of the first things she did was that, and it was very quirky and very funny. So my darlings, if you don't get life, get this. We never know when it's going to be our last day. We never know when it's going to be our last moment. None of us, no matter what is going on. If this is your last day, make it worthwhile. Do the things that you should do. Take the opportunity, with all of the world going crazy around us, take the opportunity to make this day the best you possibly can. We're going to be talking about that more when we come back tonight, 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be with Al Pisano, Everything is Attitude, and we're going to be talking about our last day and what would we do and how could we make it worthwhile. And so also I shall be with my class tonight. Anybody out there listening, I shall be there tonight. If my voice excuse me, if my voice holds out, which hopefully it will do. And so please, do we have any more comments before we're closing, shutting down? She says no, so I can see them popping up here. Are you sure we don't have any more comments?
Keeping things in perspective. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. I'll choose to spend my last day singing and dancing and being grateful.
Good.
Flowers, a sad face for your jelly baby.
Oh no, hold it. I got it back. I got it all back. All my jewelry, all my money, and I got my jelly baby back. So there you have it. You see, when you think the most dire thing in the world is going to happen, then miraculously somebody actually found my purse and actually then sent it back to us, not a penny missing. How nice is that, and how unusual is that? And wasn't I lucky? All right, so I forgot to tell you that part of the story. So I still have my jelly baby along with my grandson's umbilical cord, all wrapped up together. My most precious things. Anyway, so yes, well, there you are. I'm a weird person. So please think about what I've said. Please, all of you out there. Hopefully I'll see some of you tonight. at Everything is Attitude with Al Pisano. You can find us on Facebook doing that, I think, right?
On the healing
Yes.
book.
Pardon?
On the healing
On
book.
the healing book, yeah. So you can find us there, and Michelle will be putting out a link at some point, I know. So anyway, you can find us there, and we'd love to hear your comments and so on. And until you see me again, until I see you all again, please have a very blessed, count your blessings, have a very blessed rest of today, and have a very blessed weekend, everybody. Find the joy. If this is your last weekend, can you make it count? Can you make it work? I certainly am going to do it. So please, all of you, have a very blessed rest of the day and a very blessed weekend.